4:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The phone vibrates. Not the gentle buzz of a morning alarm, but the sharp, violent pulse of an emergency broadcast. The screen glows with a message that has never appeared before. DEFCON 2, National Emergency. Shelter immediately. Across 12 time zones, the world fractures. In that single moment between sleep and waking, the old certainties dissolve. The missile has already launched. The response is already authorized. And somewhere in the darkness between continents, the first warheads begin their descent. This is not a drill. This is not a movie. This is the first day of World War III, and it begins not with explosions, but with silence. The kind of silence that precedes every storm, every collapse, every moment when history pivots on a single decision made thousands of miles away by people whose names you will never know. The war does not arrive as a flash of light. It arrives as a notification, a rumor, a breaking news banner that refreshes faster than the human mind can process. And in those first few minutes, as the East Coast stirs awake, the question is not whether it is real. The question is whether you will believe it in time. The first reports surface on social media at 4:22 a.m. A flash detected over Eastern Europe. Satellite imagery shows thermal signatures consistent with a strategic launch. The posts are fragmented, unverified, drowned in a sea of speculation and denial. By 4:35 a.m., major news networks interrupt their programming. Anchors appear on screen, visibly shaken, reading from scripts that were written decades ago and never meant to be used. The language is careful, clinical, designed to inform without inciting panic. But the tremor in their voices betrays the truth. Something irreversible has begun. At 4:41 a.m., the emergency alert system activates nationwide. Every phone, every television, every radio erupts with the unmistakable tone. The message scrolls across screens in blunt, unforgiving text. Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. Await further instruction. This is not a test. In bedrooms across America, people freeze. Some check their phones again, convinced it is a hack, a mistake, a nightmare. Others move immediately, dragging children from beds, grabbing go bags that have sat untouched in closets for years. The streets remain dark. The world has not yet caught fire. But the invisible machinery of war has already begun to turn. By 5 a.m., the highways begin to fill, not with coordinated evacuations, but with instinct. Families pile into cars with no destination, only the overwhelming need to move, to escape, to do something. Traffic clogs the interstates leading out of major cities. Horns blare. Arguments erupt at intersections. The gas stations that open are overwhelmed within minutes. Pumps run dry. Credit card systems fail under the load. Cash becomes the only currency, and those without it are left stranded, engines idling, fuel gauges dropping toward empty. In Washington, the skies fill with helicopters. Military convoys roll through streets, still slick with morning dew. The White House disappears behind layers of barricades and armed personnel. The president is already airborne, sequestered aboard a command aircraft designed to survive the unthinkable. In New York, the stock exchange does not open. Trading halts before the first bell. The Dow, the Nasdaq, the global markets freeze in a state of suspended animation, waiting for information that will never come in time. Across the Midwest, power grids flicker. Not from attack, but from sheer demand. Millions of devices charge simultaneously. Freezers hum to life, radios crackle. The infrastructure strains under the weight of collective fear. By 6 a.m., the supermarkets open. Within 20 minutes, the shelves are bare. Bottled water vanishes first, then canned goods, batteries, first aid supplies. Shoppers move with mechanical urgency, filling carts without thought, without plan, driven only by the primal need to hoard, to prepare, to survive. Fist fights break out over the last cases of water. Security guards stand helpless, overwhelmed by the surge. The checkout lines stretch to the back of the stores, but the registers are failing. Payment systems crash. Managers announce cash only, but the ATMs outside have already been emptied. What cannot be bought is taken. The thin veneer of civility cracks, and beneath it, something rawer emerges. At 7 a.m., the schools close. The announcement comes via robocall, email, and text. A precautionary measure, officials say, though no one believes it. Parents flood the roads, racing to collect their children. Buses sit idle in depots. Teachers stand in empty hallways, staring at their phones, waiting for instructions that do not come. In homes across the nation, families gather around televisions, watching the same footage loop endlessly. Satellite images of missile trails, maps with expanding red circles, analysts speaking in measured tones about throw weights, trajectories, and blast radii. The language is technical, detached, as if describing a weather system rather than the end of the world. By 8 a.m., the Internet begins to fracture. Not all at once, but in waves. Major platforms slow to a crawl, overwhelmed by traffic. Social media feeds fill with rumors, conspiracy theories, and desperate pleas for information. Some claim the missiles have already struck. Others insist it is a false flag, a manipulation, a test. The truth is buried beneath a mountain of noise, and no one can separate signal from static. Government websites crash under the load. Emergency hotlines ring unanswered. The infrastructure designed to inform and protect the public collapses under the weight of its own inadequacy. At 9:17 a.m., the first blackout occurs, not nationwide but concentrated. A major metropolitan area loses power without warning. The lights go out. The hum of civilization dies. In the silence that follows, the magnitude of the situation becomes clear. This is not a temporary disruption. This is the beginning of a cascade, a domino effect that will sweep across the nation in hours, not days. The blackout spreads. City by city, region by region, the grid fails. Some failures are the result of cyber attacks, invisible strikes that target control systems and substations. Others are simply the consequence of overload, of a system pushed beyond its limits by millions of simultaneous demands. By 10 a.m., cash machines stop working. Debit cards are useless. The digital economy, built on the assumption of constant connectivity, grinds to a halt. Stores that remain open accept only physical currency, but few have any left. The banks are closed, their vaults inaccessible, their systems offline. The realization sets in slowly, then all at once. Money in its modern form has ceased to exist. What remains is barter, negotiation, and the sudden importance of tangible goods, a gallon of gasoline, a loaf of bread, a battery. These become the new measures of wealth. At 11 a.m., the cell towers begin to fail, not from attack, but from the sheer volume of traffic. Everyone is calling, texting, searching for loved ones, for information, for reassurance. The networks buckle. Calls drop mid-sentence. Text messages sit unset, spinning in digital limbo. The isolation is immediate and absolute. Without phones, without internet, without television, millions of Americans are cut off from the world, left to navigate the crisis with only the information they gathered in those first frantic hours. Rumors spread faster than facts. Each neighborhood becomes its own echo chamber, filled with speculation and fear. By noon, the highways are parking lots. Those who fled early are now trapped, stranded between cities with no fuel, no food, and no way forward. Families sleep in their cars. Children cry. Arguments turn violent. The exodus has become a prison, a slow-motion catastrophe, unfolding on asphalt. Emergency services are overwhelmed. Ambulances cannot reach those in need. Fire trucks sit idle, their crews awaiting orders that never arrive. The 911 system collapses under the volume of calls. Operators work without rest, their voices hoarse, their scripts inadequate for the scale of the disaster. At 1 p.m., the military mobilizes visibly. Convoys roll through cities, setting up checkpoints and roadblocks. The National Guard deploys to major intersections, enforcing curfews that have not yet been officially announced. Soldiers, most of them young, barely out of training, stand in full combat gear, unsure of what they are protecting against. The enemy is invisible, the battlefield undefined. They check IDs, turn back vehicles, and repeat the same instructions. Return home. Stay indoors. Await further guidance. The words become a mantra, repeated until they lose all meaning. By 2 p.m., hospitals activate emergency protocols. Generators kick in. Non-essential procedures are canceled. Staff work double shifts, preparing for casualties that have not yet arrived, but are assumed to be inevitable. The waiting rooms fill with the worried, the confused, and the injured from the chaos of the morning. Doctors and nurses move through the halls with grim efficiency, rationing supplies, prioritizing triage, preparing for the worst. Outside, ambulances line up, their sirens silent, their crews resting while they can. At 3 p.m., the government issues its first formal statement. The president, speaking from an undisclosed location, addresses the nation via radio. The broadcast is short, carefully scripted, designed to project calm and control. The United States has not been struck. Our defenses remain intact. We are coordinating with our allies. Shelter in place. Trust in your government. The words are meant to reassure, but they achieve the opposite. The absence of detail, the vagueness of the message only deepens the fear. What is not being said becomes more important than what is. By 4 p.m., the sun begins its slow descent, and with it the realization that night is coming. A night without power, without communication, without the comforting glow of street lights and screens. Families board up windows. Neighbors gather in small clusters, sharing what little they know, pooling resources, forming the first fragile bonds of collective survival. Trust is a commodity now, as valuable as food or water. Some communities come together, others fracture, divided by fear, suspicion, and the instinct to protect one's own at any cost. At 5 p.m., the radio broadcasts begin to repeat. The same message over and over every 15 minutes. This is the emergency broadcast system. Remain calm. Stay indoors. Assistance is coming. The repetition is maddening, a loop that offers no new information, no answers, only the hollow promise of help that seems further away with each passing hour. Amateur radio operators, once dismissed as hobbyists, become vital links. They transmit messages between cities, between states, between families desperate to know if their loved ones are safe. The airwaves crackle with voices, some panicked, some calm, all searching for connection in the void. By 6 p.m., the first fires begin, not from bombs, but from accidents. A candle tips over, a generator sparks, a gas line ruptures. Without functioning fire departments, without water pressure, the blazes spread unchecked. Entire blocks burn while neighbors watch helplessly, unable to intervene, unable to call for aid. The smoke rises into the evening sky, visible for miles, a grim reminder of how quickly order can dissolve into chaos. At 7 p.m., curfews are enforced. Police and military personnel patrol the streets, ordering anyone outside to return home. The few who resist are detained, processed through makeshift holding centers set up in school gymnasiums and community centers. The rule of law bends under the weight of emergency powers. Constitutional protections become abstract concepts, secondary to the immediate need for control. The streets empty. The cities fall silent. Only the sound of boots on pavement and the distant hum of generators mark the passage of time. By 8 p.m., darkness falls completely. The blackout is total now, stretching from coast to coast. The United States, for the first time in modern history, is dark. In homes, families huddle around battery-powered radios and flickering candles. They eat cold meals from cans. They whisper to avoid drawing attention. They wait. Outside, the stars are visible in a way they have not been for decades, unobscured by light pollution, brilliant and indifferent. The beauty is jarring, almost obscene in its contrast to the fear below. At 9 p.m., reports surface of explosions off the coast, unverified, unconfirmed, transmitted through fragmented radio chatter and whispered conversations. Naval engagements in the Atlantic, air defense systems engaging unknown targets over the Pacific. The war, still distant, still invisible, begins to close in. The reality that has been held at arm's length for hours now presses against the doors, the windows, the fragile walls of denial. By 10 p.m., exhaustion sets in. The adrenaline that sustained the day begins to fade. Families try to sleep, but rest is elusive. Every sound is a threat. Every silence is ominous. Children cry. Adults stare at ceilings. The night stretches on, endless and unforgiving. And somewhere beyond the darkness the war continues. Decisions are made. Orders are given. The machinery of destruction turns, indifferent to the millions lying awake, wondering if they will see another dawn. At midnight, the first day ends, not with resolution, but with the grim acceptance that this is the new reality. The morning will bring no return to normalcy. The systems that defined modern life, the grid, the markets, the networks have failed. What remains is survival, the instinct to endure, the fragile hope that somehow, somewhere, there is a path forward. The first day of World War III concludes not with fire, but with the quiet understanding that the world has changed, irrevocably, completely, and there is no going back.